Hello everyone, and this is DaseinWasHere today, and today we'll be talking about the TDS Executioner. The TDS Executioner is a mid to close range marksman vessel that does a lot of damage up front and can get in and out of fights very quickly. The Executioner's primary weapon is Gauss Cannon. Gauss Cannon is an extremely accurate high burst weapon at mid to close range with a small AoE. This weapon is absolutely amazing, being as unlike on most traditional hit-and-run vessels in Fractured Space, you actually have a nice precision weapon that does a lot of damage. Keep in mind though, it is a precision weapon, but aiming is key. Every shot you miss really decreases your survival in a fight or your ability to do your job. The first ability I'd like to talk about on the Executioner is actually Overdrive. Overdrive is a really powerful ability, being as it plays off the entire kit and not just doing its primary purpose, which is to speed up your ship. Overdrive makes your ship go really fast at the cost of energy, which can be detrimental if you're facing ships that will really tax your energy through abilities or even through going in and draining you via point defense. Now, that being said, you get to move faster, but at the cost of your primary weapon. Your primary weapon does a ton of upfront burst damage, normally. But you actually trade this out with Overdrive, and you have a faster fire rate for lower damage. This makes this ability absolutely amazing, being as you can use it to hit smaller ships by being able to fire a lot more. That way your misses actually hurt you a lot less. Also, Overdrive really plays well, being as it allows you to actually hip fire and finish off certain kills, being as your primary weapon has a slow reload time. So that means you can do one big burst with that, the target is almost dead and has a chance of getting away. You could just hit Overdrive, fire off that last shot, finish off your target, and then turn off Overdrive and let your full shot charge up for your next target, which really makes Overdrive useful. Overdrive also plays off very well with the Executioner's next ability, which is Chrono Blink, being as it allows you to go a much farther distance and then allows Chrono Blink to blink you back much further. That way you can get to safety and do those hit and run attacks really effectively. The Executioner's next ability is Chrono Blink. Chrono Blink really allows the Executioner to come into its own as a hit-and-run fighter, being as it allows you to go in there, take key objectives like mines, which were normally too risky for other people to take, or even go in, do a lot of damage to a key target, or even fully take out a key target, and get out without actually dying. This really allows the Executioner to have a nice spot as a hit-and-run fighter in a team comp. Now, this in mind, there are a couple things you want to keep in mind. The first thing you want to keep in mind is you always want to keep moving. As soon as you stop in the Executioner, you really lose the ability to use Chrono Blink effectively, being as you will be moving around and then you can at least hit Chrono Blink and go back a little bit, or at least reposition. When if you're standing still, there's going to be a period of time where Chrono Blink will always be in that one spot. Thus, you're always wanting to keep moving. And the Executioner's next ability is Stasis Buoy. Stasis Buoy is a buoy that you fire out that actually has a fairly good range that enemies caught within its sphere of influence start getting slowed up until a full stop. This allows you to actually have some objective control, being as you can stop ships from going into objectives, as well as it allows you to help slow down those pesky ships and make it easier for you to hit them. The best way to increase the life expectancy of Stasis Buoy is to actually fire it out when the enemy is distracted, being as if they are distracted and already in combat, then they're not likely to either focus it down with weapons fire or with their point defense. This will actually make it a little bit more effective than just throwing it out right before an engagement. And finally, the Executioner has missiles. Now, unlike a lot of missiles that do a lot of damage, these have relatively low damage. Now, this in mind, they actually fire as a whole volley and arrive at the same time, thus are more likely to actually overwhelm the target's point defense and actually hit the target. So this actually gives you a reliable little trickle of damage, and they can actually do a surprising amount of damage when the target actually has broken armor. Several things that these missiles are really useful for are, first of all, you can actually use it to drain a target's energy supply, being as it is a spammable missile set. being as it has a really low cooldown, which means you can fire at a target quite a bit, thus really draining and taxing that point defense if they don't want to take that reliable bit of damage. Now, the next thing is, it is really useful when you're attacking blinking ships, being as ships that are blinking around all over the place, you can actually wait, have them targeted, and then once they blink, you can actually fire your missiles and it'll actually tell you kind of where they are based on where the missiles are flying, which actually really makes those missiles really useful. And finally, those missiles are great at targeting buoys and other small objects that you normally wouldn't want to waste your time trying to fire at with your main cannon due to its long cooldown. When flying the Executioner, it is important to pay attention to your kit synergy, being as your entire kit has some of the best synergy in fractured space and really allows the ship to be an excellent hit-and-run vessel. Now, the first thing I'd like to talk about is actually going to be the relationship with the Gauss Cannon and Overdrive. The Gauss Cannon has a long cooldown and does a lot of damage. This really makes it important for you to start whittling down that target with your primary Gauss Cannon and then hit Overdrive to finish off the target, because often there'll be just a little bit of health left and you can use Overdrive to allow you to finish off that target and then swap to the next target. The next thing you're really going to want to pay attention to is your enemy's armor facings. This is very important, being as you're going to want to be always hitting that same armor facing so you can break it quickly and start getting that broken armor multiplier, as well as you have the accuracy on your Gauss Cannon to be able to hit that broken armor and eat away at your target very quickly. Also, it is important to mention that when you're firing your missiles, if you can fire them in such a way that you can hit broken armor, they actually do a decent amount of damage. The next thing you're going to want to pay attention to, as said before, is always keep moving. If you're always moving around, you're really going to be able to take advantage of Chrono Blink, as well as if you're really planning out your movements ahead of time, you can actually set up some really good attacks or really good escapes. Being as, again, you can actually try to plan it out so your route takes you to a spot where the enemy will either be, or takes you to a spot where you can make a good quick escape. And finally, I'd like to remind you that the Executioner is excellent at helping your team keep mind control while forcing a reaction out of the enemy and not really affecting your team in a negative way, being as you can actually get out of the way before you either get killed or actually be able to blink back into team fights and help your team out after capturing key objectives, because mind control is key, as well as initiative is key in any fight, being as soon as the enemy is reacting to you, you can start really planning ahead and making the enemy do what you want them to do. Thank you for watching this video on tips, tricks, and tactics of the TDS Executioner. If you like this video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and as always, take care.